Hey guys, I get frequently asked the question that now that I've done a few wholesale deals, should I start fix and flipping homes? In this video, you're gonna learn the pros and cons to the fix and flip and see if you should be getting into that game. My name is Cody Hoffine. I'm the founder of Real Estate Freedom Formula, and I train thousands of students across this great nation on step-by-step instruction how to go out there and get their first deal or consistently do deals each and every month. Now, let's break down exactly this whole philosophy mindset around the fix and flip. So many times I get the question where someone's like finally getting the momentum, they're finally getting the traction, they're out there doing deals, they're finding deeply discounted properties over and over and over again. And then they go to like a real estate investor association meeting, or they talk to their buddy and they're like, oh man, had you fix and flip that home, you could have made an additional 20 grand. So let's break this down, because when you hear that, I get it. Most entrepreneurs, and I'm guilty of this as well, we go through what's called shiny object syndrome, SOS, right? SOS, shiny object syndrome. What does this mean? It means there's always these opportunities. Entrepreneurs are presented a ton of opportunity. They're presented a ton of different options that look better. Like the grass is greener on this side. Like, do you know what? You could kill it right now. You're finding the deal at a discount, and had you just fixed and flipped it, you could have made an additional $20,000 on top of the $15,000 that you made when you just, instead of like doing it yourself, when you just assigned it to a cash buyer and you made 15 grand, we could have added another 20 grand if you fix and flipped it. Like, why don't you fix and flip the homes? And now at night, they're like tossing and turning. They're like, I don't know, like, why did I not fix and flip that deal? I could have made $30,000 instead of $15,000. And their brain just starts going. So let's break this down. Should you start doing the fix and flips? Let's talk about the pros and cons. If you don't know what you're doing, I don't know if I would ever get into a fix and flip. I'm a licensed general contractor. I did it my whole life. I worked for my dad my whole life. He had me on the job ever since I was 8 years old. He'd have me painting, doing tile work, plumbing. I learned everything from the ins and outs of just construction. And when I was about 20 years old, I got licensed as a general contractor myself. I've been through this game a lot. Now, even when I first got into real estate and I was just out there being a deal finder, finding deeply discounted properties that I could assign to cash buyers, I didn't do my first rehab or fix and flip for 2 years. I just wanted to focus on one thing and keep your focus. There's a book out there that's incredible called The One Thing by Gary Keller. And he talks about how the ones that have too many things to do on, like too many things to focus on, it ends up not working. Half effort does not equal half results. It equals 0 results. I want you to think about that. Half effort does not equate to half results. It equates to 0 results. You've got to have extreme focus when it comes to real estate. You can lose a ton of traction momentum, like individuals that are like, oh man, I've done my 5th deal, so now I want to fix and flip. You got to be careful. Here's the story behind it. Let's say you have like this goose that is laying golden eggs, right? And as long as you take care of it every day, you pet it, you feed it, you let it walk around the yard, it'll produce this golden egg, right? Much like your business. As long as you feed it marketing, as long as you pick up the phone, as long as you go on appointments, you're gonna get a deal. You're gonna get a golden egg, right? And then you get this sidetracked thought of, oh my goodness, there's a goose over here about 5 miles, they say, that's around in this area, that if you could go find it, you could bring this goose back and now you'd have 2 geese laying golden eggs. Can you imagine how amazing your business would be? Or you're doing really good at being a deal finder and someone comes to you and says, hey, over here, if you fix and flip, you could now bring that part to your business too. And can you imagine if both of those are working for you, how good it's going to be? And so you leave the farm to go look for this goose. Meanwhile, no one's here petting the goose, feeding the goose, letting it out to go walk, and the goose dies. And all of a sudden you go out there and you're like, oh man, I was gonna do this, I'm doing good, and I never found the goose. Now let's relate it to the story. Meanwhile, you stop marketing. for new deals because you're like, oh, I'm on this fix and flip and I got to get on this and my head hurts because I'm trying to meet contractors. If you look at fix and flip and you take the actual name fix and flip off the wall, underneath it is the real name for this: adult daycare. Adult daycare. You want to go insane? Try and take care of contractors and manage contractors. It's literally like adult daycare. You'll be disappointed so many times. We're like, well, I was going to come out today, but now I can't come out till next week. And you're like, wait, I have the countertops coming next week, so the cabinets have to be done this week. Well, sorry, I can't. And now you got to change all your schedules. And all this time you're trying to find this goose. You're trying to establish this golden egg over here, and your business of finding deals dies, and you have to start all over again. So for many individuals, I tell them all the time, don't get into the fix and flip. It's a shiny object syndrome. It'll kill many of your businesses. Now, for those that know what they're doing, they know how to manage people, and they have someone that can stay back. Now, had I had my wife stay back and say, hey, you got to take care of this goose while I go find this other goose, maybe that's going to work, right? Because I have at least someone managing this. So if you don't have a team in place, a process in place that manages your current business model, do not do the fix and flip. Crazy idea, crazy idea. You've got to keep the momentum. You can't let this die. You've been working so hard. The first push is your hardest. Your first deal is your hardest because it's like pushing a train. The train's at a complete stop and you're pushing as hard as you can. And it makes like an 1/8 of an inch turn on the wheel, and then a 1/4 inch turn, then a 1/2 inch turn, and then a half revolution, and then it goes around once, and once it gets going, now it's like, oh man, I got momentum, and you're able to push this train faster and faster and faster as you keep pushing. And then it gets to the point where you're like, man, this is easy. I'm just doing this, and I'm just following it and doing a little push here and there because you got momentum, you got traction. But if that train comes to a stop, you start all over again where you're pushing as hard as you can into that train and feel like it's going nowhere, and that frustration starts. And for many people, they get out of the game. They're like, I don't want to do that again. That was too tough. Keep your momentum going. Fix and flip can be a big distraction. I call it as part of my ABCs when I talk about ABCs, like your exit strategies when you find discounts. A being your assignment, B being your buy and hold, C being your conditional flip. If you must do a conditional flip, like if you must do a fix and flip, it must meet certain conditions. That you're in and out within 7 days or less. Maybe that just means it just needs carpets cleaned, or it just needs a little bit of touch-up paint. Not paint the whole house, not clean everywhere in the house. Just, hey, if I just simply cleaned up these carpets right here and I did a little touch-up paint in the bathroom, I could slap it on the market and I'd make money, right? That's one of those ones that if you're gonna do it, make sure it takes minimal time. Something that's so easy that it's not gonna distract you from what is making you actual money. That 20 grand that everyone pitches that, oh, you could have made an additional 20 grand. You end up, instead of when you're doing, let's say 3 deals, and let's say your average assignment's 15 grand, you're making $45,000 a month, and you're like, but I could have made $65,000 had I done that one flip. It doesn't equate to that. Because while you're over here trying to manage this, you lose traction over here. And instead of doing 3 deals, you now do 0 deals. So now you just missed out on 45 grand. And when this is done, and if you did it correctly, you made 20 grand. You actually lost money. I would have much rather seen you consistently do 3 deals and actually figure out a marketing channel or figure out a process or get better at negotiation and turn it into a 4 deals a month versus 3 deals versus messing around with a fix and flip. I hope this video has helped you. This is the question I get all the time, and I know it's one of those like brutal answers because everyone like thinks it's a dream to get into fix and flip. But if I don't warn you of some of the things that happens, many of the investors out there end up killing their business when they get involved in fix and flips and they have to start all over again. I don't want that to happen to you. So think about these processes, think about what I've gone over, and see what makes sense with you before you make that decision of doing your fix and flip. Hopefully this has helped you. Now get out there, keep doing deals, keep that business going of finding deeply discounted properties, and I'll see you maybe on another video. Take care.